The film begins with the introduction of Sid Mehra, the only child of a wealthy businessman in Mumbai. Sid, also known as Sid, is a young man who is often lazy and uninterested in his studies, despite the fact that he is in his final year of college. Instead of studying for his college final exams that night, Sid spent his time playing video games and watching television. As a result, Sid awoke late the next day and had to rush to campus without having time to study the exam material at all. While on campus, he was certain that he would fail his exams this semester and have to repeat the course the following year. However, Sid was not upset and felt relieved after learning that his male best friend, Rishi, had difficulty taking the exam and that they would be able to repeat the course together the following year. Sid invites Rishi and his female best friend, Lakshmi, to a nightclub to have fun after the exams. They went to a fancy restaurant to eat together in the afternoon before going to the club, and then they went shopping at a mall to buy very expensive branded goods. Sid spends money on the credit card his father gave him because he enjoys spending money. He even bought all of his best friend's food and paid for all of their groceries without hesitation. Sid and his best friend then go to their usual nightclub in the evening and spend the entire night partying late into the night. Sid's mother, Sarita Mehta, approaches him in the morning and invites him to spend time with her because Sid has rarely gone with his mother since college. Sid, on the other hand, declines his mother's invitation and prefers to spend his time playing in his room or hanging out with his friends. Sid's father noticed him looking at photos of the latest car at the dinner table and made him an offer. Sid's father promises to buy him a car if he agrees to work for his company for 3 months. Sid initially declines the offer because working for 3 months is too long, but after his father reduces the offer to 1 month of work, he finally accepts. Sid attends a farewell party hosted by one of his college friends, Debbie, in the evening. Sid, who is bored at the party, decides to take some pictures with his new camera. He accidentally takes a photo at the party and meets a girl named Aisha. Debbie's friend Aisha recently relocated from Kolkata to work as a writer for a well-known magazine company in Mumbai. Sid is taken aback because the magazine from which Aisha is applying is his subscription magazine. After all, he is intrigued by the magazine's various interesting photos. Sid took Aisha to a beach after talking at Debbie's party to enjoy the city view from across the beach. On that occasion, he inquired of Aisha whether she was afraid of living alone in a big city like Mumbai. Aisha explained that she was terrified, but that becoming a writer in the world's largest media company had been her dream since she was a child, and she wanted to pursue that dream. Sid drove Aisha to her hotel in the evening and gave her contact information so they could communicate in the days ahead. Sid visits his father's company the next day, Mumbai's largest furniture company. Sid, on the other hand, decided to dress casually for the meeting because he felt formal attire was inappropriate for him. When Sid arrived at the office, the employees regarded him with suspicion because his attire did not conform to the office dress code. When they discovered that Sid was the owner's son, the company secretary greeted him warmly and invited him to wait in his father's office. When Sid's father arrives, he reminds him to be polite and follow company rules because he is just like the other employees in that office. Sid was assigned by his father to work like other employees on the first day and carefully study all company files. However, because Sid was uninterested in his father's business from the start, he became bored quickly and wanted to go home and quit his job. Sid receives an email from Aisha while at work informing him that she has had her first job interview at a Mumbai magazine company. Sid responded to Aisha's email by telling her about his first day of work at his father's company. He claims that everyone in the office appears serious and yoke as they concentrate on their work. When he is silly dancing on the office table, they don't even budge and ignore him. Aisha plans to relocate one day because the inn where she currently resides has too many mice and cockroaches. Sid then assisted her by providing contacts for renters in Mumbai at reasonable prices. Sid became bored after a few days of working at his father's company and being forced to study hundreds of company files and decided to leave the office. He appears to have given up his desire for a luxury car because he can no longer handle the office workload. Sid accompanied Aisha to an in-house owned by a flirtatious woman named Sonia that day. Sid was disappointed after seeing the room that Sonia had rented out because it was filthy and had been neglected for a long time. However, Aisha felt at ease with the rental house and decided to rent it because she planned to clean and redecorate the room. Furthermore, Aisha is very interested in the city view from the top floor of the house so that she can breathe fresh air whenever she wants. Sid then assisted Aisha in purchasing the necessary equipment for redecorating the room and enlisted the help of his friends to repaint it. Sid's mother introduces him to Tanya, the daughter of one of his father's friends, a few days later, on the day of his parents' wedding anniversary. Soon after, Sid receives a call from Aisha, inviting him to her home. Sid, who was bored, decided to leave the party and go to Aisha's house after hearing this. Aisha invites Sid to her birthday party because she has never celebrated her birthday alone. They enjoyed the night view of the city above the house after blowing out the candles and eating the strawberry jam cake. The following day, Aisha had a final interview with Kabir, the CEO of a Mumbai magazine company. Aisha was finally officially accepted to work at the company after successfully answering all of Kabir's silly questions. Aisha immediately informs Sid of her good news, informing him that she has been accepted to work for a Mumbai magazine company. Sid's happiness, however, is short-lived when he learns that he is the only student who fails the course while his best friends pass the exam. He was disappointed and frustrated by the exam results, and he vented his rage on his best friends and his mother. Sid's father immediately scolded him and forced him to apologize to his mother after learning that Sid had hurt his mother's feelings. Sid, who was frustrated and irritated, even fought with his father until he decided to leave the house. Sid, who had no money, then went to Aisha's house and asked permission to stay for a few days. Aisha, who feels indebted to Sid for everything he has done, decides to assist him and lets him stay for a while. Aisha looked excited the next day because it was her first day of work, so she got up early. Meanwhile, Sid, who has no money and no job, wakes up during the day and begins searching the refrigerator for food. Unfortunately, Sid couldn't find instant food in Aisha's refrigerator, and there were only raw vegetables, despite the fact that he had no idea how to cook. After work, Aisha was surprised to see her room in such disarray, but she tried to be patient and immediately tidied it up. After learning that Sid does not have enough money to buy food, Aisha cooks him dinner. Aisha tries to show Kabir her article the next day at work, but he is too busy to see her writing, so she sneaks her article onto Kabir's desk. A few days later, Laxmi meets Sid at Aisha's house to return Sid's favorite items, including his new camera. Sid, who was bored, immediately resumed his hobby of photographing various events, activities, and scenery around the housing. He even teaches Sonia how to fry eggs so he can serve them to Aisha when she gets home from work. Aisha, on the other hand, appears frustrated after Kabir requests that she remove all non-important files from his desk and discovers that her article is included in the file. Because of the stress she feels at work, Aisha scolds Sid for not making their bed when she gets home. Disgusted, Aisha threw her bag on the floor and left Sid alone in the house. Sid tried to call Aisha several times to apologize, but she refused. Sid sat quietly on a chair, thinking about all of Aisha's previous words, and when he realized his error, he immediately reorganized Aisha's bed. When Aisha returned from her friend's house the next day, she seemed surprised by the neat and clean room condition. She then advised Sid to return home and work for his father's company, but he declined because he wanted to work in a field that he was interested in and passionate about. When Aisha hears this, she introduces Sid to Amit, a photographer-director at the company where she works. After seeing Sid's photos, Amit is impressed by his talent and decides to hire him as an intern in his division. Sid met Tanya, a designer at the company, a few days later, on his first day of work. Meanwhile, Sid's mother came to Aisha's house to thank her for accommodating Sid all this time and to give her some money. But Aisha politely declined the money because she considered Sid to be a good friend. Hearing this, Sid's mother gave the two some of Sid's favorite mangoes to share while telling Aisha not to tell Sid about her arrival at her house. Sid began to change into a better person after living with Aisha, and he always tried to assist her with household chores. He is becoming more active in his work because he has discovered his passion and enjoys it. A few days later, when Sid and Aisha's office was closed, Sid told Aisha that he would meet Tanya at a club tonight. When Aisha hears this, she congratulates Sid with annoyance and hints that she is jealous of his and Tanya's closeness, but he is unaware. The next day, Sid receives an offer to photograph a family who lives next door to Aisha's house. He then photographed a boy with his mother, which reminded him of his childhood memories of spending time with his mother. Sid became aware of his mother's genuine love as a result of this incident, so he went to meet his mother and apologized for previously hurting his mother's heart. The next day, Sid meets with Amit and requests permission to photograph for the next issue of the magazine in order to demonstrate that his work is worthy of inclusion. Aisha's article, on the other hand, was finally approved by Kabir to be included in the next issue of the magazine because it was very meaningful and touching. After a few days, Aisha began to notice Sid's developments and changes, and she was amazed by Sid's talent and hard work. Sid and Aisha went to a traditional Indian music performance party in the evening and seemed to enjoy their company. Sid invites Aisha to sleep with him after returning home from the party half drunk. The invitation is accepted by Ayesha, who has fallen in love with him. On another occasion, Sid appears ecstatic after receiving a promotion letter to become an assistant photographer and receiving his first salary at the company. Sid went to his father's workplace to apologize for running away from home and rejecting his father's job offer. He claims that he now has a job that he enjoys and that he has received his first salary. Hearing Sid's words, his father beams with pride and hugs him. Sid decided to go back to his parents' house the next day so he wouldn't bother Ayesha anymore. After packing his belongings, he informed Ayesha that he would be returning home that day because his family problem had been resolved. Unfortunately, Ayesha appears sad with Sid as he prepares to leave, and they end up fighting before Sid returns to his house. Sid appeared happy when he returned to his house because he could finally sleep in his very comfortable and warm room, whereas Ayesha appeared lonely after Sid left her house. Sid's servant handed him a Mumbai magazine to which he had subscribed, and he immediately opened it. Sid comes across an article written by Ayesha by chance and quickly realizes that the article is about Ayesha's life experience in Mumbai and her meeting with him. Ayesha reveals at the end of the story that she has fallen in love with Sid, which makes him realize that Ayesha's attitude has been her sincerity and love for him. Sid dashed to the beach because he was certain Ayesha was there. It was, after all, their favorite spot. The film concludes with Sid approaching Ayesha and declaring his love for her before finally hugging each other, signaling the start of their love affair.